going on right now? Nintendo just announced that tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., we are getting a 30-minute long Nintendo Direct focused primarily on Switch 1 games. Now, that wouldn't be a big shock to say, oh, we're getting the announcement of a spring Nintendo Direct, but it is a big shock right now because 1 week from today is the Switch 2 Direct where they do the major blowout for their next system, the Nintendo Switch 2, and give us all the games for the Nintendo Switch 2. And now you're telling me that a week beforehand you're doing another 30-minute long Direct on Switch 1 games? This is unprecedented. This is unlike the Nintendo I have ever known before. They must have something big if they think that they could do a 30-minute long Switch 1 Direct before the Switch 2 Direct. Now, obviously, there are big things that I think could warrant having a separate presentation, especially if certain things are left out of the Switch 2 Direct, which is probably going to lead directly into my first prediction for today. I also got to say, this video is going to be a little bit unhinged. I'm inside of my recording booth right now. It is very early in the morning. Reagan still hasn't left for work. She was still sleeping. I was laying scrolling on my phone in bed, saw the news, ran in here to record. So you got to excuse me. If I'm stumbling over my words, it's because I haven't had my coffee yet. If I seem tired or I seem like I'm unhinged or whatever, it's literally because I just found this news out and I sat down to record this video. All right, so the first thing that I think we can expect fully in this Direct, no doubt about it, lock it in, wake up tomorrow morning, you're going to be seeing Samus Aran's beautiful face. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will be in tomorrow's Nintendo Direct. Full stop. That game is a Switch 1 game. It got announced last year. We saw Psylocke in the trailer. We saw a little bit of gameplay, and that was it. I think tomorrow we are going to know when this game is coming out. I think we get an actual release date for the game. I think we get a gameplay blowout. Like, I'm talking at least 5 or 6 minutes in this entire Direct dedicated to just this one game. And I do think we find out a little bit more about the story, what Psylocke is doing there. You know, what is he hunting? What's happening with the characters in the Prime universe? That is my guess. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is like the big thing that they're going to be talking about a lot during this Direct. And I don't think the Metroid news ends there. Many of you remember that back when Metroid Prime 1 Remastered first came out, there was a rumor that they were also working in tandem on Prime 2 Remastered for the Switch and potentially even Prime 3. Now, Prime 1 Remastered, big success, looked beautiful. I think Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, despite the fact that we are getting a release date for the game tomorrow, I am sure of it, I do not think that game is still going to be out until maybe like the fall, which gives them like a good solid 6 months to release some other Metroid things in the lead up to hype up Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. What they could do is Metroid Prime 2 Remastered. I could totally see a situation in which tomorrow we get the reveal and the shadow drop of Metroid Prime 2 Remastered and then end up having like a physical release a couple weeks after. That's what they did with Prime 1 to great success. I think they're going to do it here with Prime 2 as well. And I also don't think it's out of the realm of possibility if we're getting Prime 2 Remastered to potentially announce a Prime 3 Remastered or something for the summer and then eventually have all that be in the lead up to Prime 4, where now, much like the Xenoblade franchise, you could play every game in the Metroid Prime franchise on your Nintendo Switch. That would be lovely. That would be a beautiful swan song for this system, and I would love to see it happen. So Prime 4 Beyond, guaranteed, locked for this Direct, no doubt about it. There is one other big Switch 1 game that we currently know about, but we just got the Pokemon Presents last month. So I don't necessarily know if we're going to get a reveal, a Pokemon reveal, in this Nintendo Direct, but I'm really scrambling to think what else could they possibly announce that warrants a major general Nintendo Direct. And I feel like Pokemon news for Pokemon Legends ZA probably would. There have been rumblings about news about new megas for that game over the course of the past week. I feel like maybe we see some of those new mega evolutions in this Direct. Maybe they announce a few things regarding that game. I could see that happening. I don't necessarily see them doing like a major blowout for it in the same way I think they're going to be covering Prime 4 Beyond. But I do think we could actually end up seeing Legends ZA news during this Direct tomorrow. Again, potentially like some mega evolutions or a little bit more of a glimpse at some of the gameplay of the game and, you know, the day-to-day action. And I want to see it. I want to see more of that game. I'm excited for that game. I can't wait for that game. Legends ZA, I think we could end up seeing during this Direct tomorrow. Another thing I think we're going to see in this Direct tomorrow, I think we're going to see a lot of this in the Direct tomorrow, is ports. I'm talking ports up the wazoo. Ports and remasters. I think we are seeing ports and remasters galore during this Direct. I think first and foremost, the Kirby Planet Robobot rumored remaster is going to be here if it exists. If it's not in this Direct tomorrow, that game does not exist in my mind. That's just something somebody made up somewhere, wanted to see it happen. It got some traction with some insiders, and then it got posted somewhere. And then, if it's not here, it's not happening. That's how I feel about it. I also feel like it's been a while since the last time that we had a major Kirby game. I think the last major Kirby release was Return to Dreamland 2 years ago. So it's been a little while, and I feel like Kirby fans are hungry, and if there's not a big Kirby game there and present during the Switch 2 blowout thing that we're getting next week, then I feel like maybe they will have something Kirby to tide us over for the big first Switch 2 Kirby, and that game could end up being Planet Robobot Remastered or whatever. That is one of the few games left on 3DS that I would really like to see some type of HD port for or HD remaster for. We already got Luigi's Mansion 2. The other big one, obviously, you guys know me, you know my taste. I would love to see Kid Icarus Uprising HD, but I honestly feel like at this point, considering the rumored mouse controls for the Switch 2, I think that game is probably going to be a Switch 2 game if that game exists. I don't necessarily see it happening for Switch 1. But again, I would love to be wrong. I was clearly wrong about the fact that we weren't going to get a Nintendo Direct this week. We're getting one tomorrow. So who knows? Don't trust anything I'm saying. Maybe we get Kid Icarus Uprising HD tomorrow. I would love to see that. I would love to see maybe having like motion controls with the Joy-Cons. I just assumed the reason it would be a Switch 2 thing is because it seems like a natural fit for the mouse controls as a substitution for the stylus controls that we got with the original 3DS version. But again, who knows? I do think, though, that again, if that game is coming out on Switch 1, it's going to happen during this Direct. The same goes for pretty much every other Switch 1 game that I'm talking about in this video. If it's been rumored and it's not here, I believe it does not exist anymore. I think this is going to be everything coming out for Switch 1 for the remainder of the year, taking us all the way into the holidays. That's what I think we're going to see in tomorrow's Direct. All right, so I talked about Kirby Planet Robobot. Talked about Prime 2, potential Prime 3 remaster. I talked about Kid Icarus Uprising HD. I also kind of feel like maybe this is where we see Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD. Again, those games are done, right? They've been done since the era of the Wii U. We just got Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. The few games left on that system that I care about are the Zelda HD remasters. I would love to see those come on over to Switch. I'd love to also replay Twilight Princess because I've been thinking about that game a lot more recently. And I feel like in my brain, for some reason, I started to dislike it over time, but I remember really loving it when it first came out, so I would love to go back and replay through the whole thing to see how I actually feel about it in 2025, because when it came out on Wii U, I forgot what else was coming out at the time, but there was like some other game that came out like within 2 or 3 months of it, and I just said I can't justify plopping down all this money to get like a Twilight Princess HD remaster when there's this other game that I want to play. So I would love for Twilight Princess HD to be here. I don't necessarily know if it will be. I think there's a higher likelihood for Wind Waker HD, but we'll see. Tomorrow, we're going to find out tomorrow. I still can't believe we got a Nintendo Direct tomorrow. Okay, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Kirby Robobot, Prime 2, Prime 3. What are the other potential remasters? I talked about Kid Icarus Uprising as well. Other potential remasters that I'm not thinking of that could maybe be here. Maybe, like, was Woolly World on Switch? Did they ever bring over Woolly World? I remember when Switch 1 first got announced, Woolly World was getting ported to 3DS. How crazy would it be to get a 3DS port of a Wii U game on the Switch with Yoshi and Woolly Poochie, what is it called? Yoshi and Poochie's Woolly World HD. Maybe that ends up being here. Maybe we end up seeing that game. Otherwise, what else do they have? Nintendo, I'm spent. I'm your hype man, bro. I'm your golden boy. I'm sitting over here trying to think of things for a Switch 1 Direct, and I'm struggling. I feel like at this point, everything is going to be for Switch 2. So what are you doing? What are you holding on to? There's got to be something big. I think the big thing for tomorrow's Direct that maybe not a lot of people are talking about, but the thing I think could also warrant having a major general presentation, maybe they got a really big third-party franchise or a huge indie game. Obviously, I hate to summon these people. I hate to summon the word. I hate to say it. But I got to put it out there because I'm one of you. I love this game. I want to see this game, Silksong. Maybe we get Silksong here. Maybe we see a trailer and a release date announcement for Silksong to close out this direct. What a fitting, poetic end to the Switch 1 generation if their last major Switch 1 exclusive direct, and this is the last major Switch 1 exclusive direct because, again, Switch 2 is now coming out. This really is it. We actually are done. They waited the last moment for this. How sick would that be to get Hollow Knight Silksong announcement for a release date at the end of the direct? I think that could be really cool. You open with Metroid Prime 4, you end with Silksong, and then you have a bunch of ports and remasters in the middle. That would be crazy. People would be melting down online. The internet would explode if we got Metroid and Silksong in the same direct tomorrow morning. But I honestly feel like it could happen. I feel like if they are justifying doing a 30-minute presentation the week before the blowout of their new system, it's gotta be something big. Again, maybe Pokemon news. Maybe we get Legends ZA news sprinkled in there alongside those ports and remasters. The only other thing that I can think of in terms of like a big new release that I could see them announcing that is first party is that long rumored Genealogy Fire Emblem remake. I feel like currently they are probably hard at work on Fire Emblem for the Switch 2 right now. They're probably putting together whatever that next game is. But if they are, again, early in the morning, if they are working on Fire Emblem for Switch 2, then I could see a holdover Fire Emblem Echoes remake type game for Switch 1, and that game probably being Genealogy: The Holy War. People have wanted to see this game. I want to see this game with the cute little pirate girl that's in that one, that's in Fire Emblem Heroes. I want to play as her in a mainline Fire Emblem game. I think that would be great. And I do think that is another big major first-party game that isn't a port or a remaster that could really make waves and that can get people talking in the lead-in to Switch 2. Again, there was a rumor going around last week that Prime 4 wouldn't be present in a major capacity in the Switch 2 Direct, and I thought that seems absurd. Like, why wouldn't Prime 4 be there? That's a great showcase kind of game. Obviously, you'll be able to play your Switch 1 games on Switch 2. They're probably going to look better. Like, why wouldn't they show it there? But this is probably why. If they're doing a full 30-minute Nintendo Direct tomorrow, this is probably where we're going to see Prime 4. The other major thing that I think we could end up getting in this Nintendo Direct that I haven't already talked about. I talked about Fire Emblem. I talked about the ports. I talked about Metroid. I talked about potentially Pokemon. I talked about a big indie game or a big third-party franchise, something like a Silksong. The other major thing that I think we could end up seeing here that people aren't really talking about is Mario Movie 2 news. Mario Movie 2, let me remind you, comes out a year from now. We're 1 year away from that. 2 years before the Mario movie came to theaters, we got the cast announcement for the first Mario movie. And it happened during a general Nintendo Direct. That moment where Miyamoto said, "Oh, Chris Pratt, he's so cool." That happened during a general Direct. And I feel like if we're 1 year away from the Mario movie, and we still don't know, what's going on with Yoshi. We don't really know anything about the story. We obviously know the cast already, the majority of the cast, because I'm assuming they're returning from the first Mario movie, but they could easily make some type of casting announcement regarding new characters, like maybe Daisy or Yoshi or Wart, or I don't know, whoever they're going to put in the next Mario movie. I feel like a casting announcement would be a fun thing to put in here to kind of like take people by surprise and to not have whatever Mario movie news needed to come out overshadow Switch 2 stuff next week. So that's another thing I think they could fit in here somewhere, something related to the sequel to the Mario movie. Otherwise, I mean, this is crazy for me. I'm drawing a blank. I really don't know what else we could see. Maybe Switch Online. Maybe something for Switch Online, like maybe a new system for Switch Online. But again, I feel like news regarding Switch Online would probably be in the Switch 2 Direct if they were going to end up doing like new systems for NSO, like DS or GameCube or something like that. That would probably be for Switch 2 and not for Switch 1. So I'm struggling. Maybe something to do with the playtest that happened last year. They said there was a playtest for some new Nintendo Switch Online feature that was coming to Nintendo Switch. Maybe we get whatever that is during this Nintendo Direct tomorrow. Otherwise, I think I'm spent. I don't know what else can be here. I'm losing my mind. I need some coffee. I'm melting down over this news. I've got like 3 different collab streams that I'm doing later today. I've got a Virtual Boy unboxing video coming out soon. I got so much Nintendo content. And of course, tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7 a.m., I will be live here on my YouTube channel doing my live reaction to this final Nintendo Direct of the Switch 1 era. Nintendo, you are feeding me, and you are feeding me well. I hope to see you all there. Let me know your prediction for tomorrow's Direct down in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Nakama!